drop peppermint oil in your right hand. And so it is a refreshing, a cooling scent. And also it helps us to stimulate the breathing reflex better. Just rub your hands together, get them close to your face, but please do not touch your face because peppermint is very strong and may sting or burn. So let's just get those hands close and let's think of slowing down the breath. Literally slowing down the breath to somewhere between 4 and 6 seconds each way. So 4 to 5 seconds on the inhale, 4 to 6 seconds on the exhale. So at some point the whole shala is going to smell so nice and so cool. There you go. Remember, you're welcome. Try not to touch your face because it may sting or burn. And the point is to pace our breath. Get those inhales and exhales a length of 4 to 6 seconds. In, 4 to 6 seconds out. Is that enough? Yes. Very strong formula. So, hi guys, welcome. We're extending our right hand, and I'm dropping one peppermint. Rub your hands and get those hands close to your face, but try not to touch your face with it because it may sting or burn. And the point is to slow down the breath. Take anywhere from 4 to 6 seconds in, 4 to 6 seconds out. It's just a little exercise for grounding and being aware, creating awareness or driving attention to the breath. If you ask me, nasal breathing is 99% of the times what we want. Sometimes 95, it depends. We can leave some mouth breathing for 5 key strategic moments, and I'll explain them in a little while. But most of the time, nasal breathing will give you more benefits for your health in general. We'll discuss nasal versus mouth breathing a little later, but this is just a minute or two of down regulation and breath awareness. 4 to 5 seconds in, 4 to 5 seconds out for a couple of minutes. While you think and feel your breath. You think of your breath moving through your nostrils, nasal passages, down the pipes, down to the lungs, and just really feeling both the cooling sensation all throughout the airways and also the expansion and contraction of your lungs thanks to your breathing musculature. All of the muscles that surrounds and supports the lungs. And I would like to draw a parallel between lungs and containers / treatment plants for oxygen and CO2. So I'd like to point out the fact that the organs are not muscles, they are organs, and they serve as, again, containers and the treatment plant for your gases, the one that you need to bring in oxygen and the one that you need to bring out CO2, carbon dioxide. So that's the function of our lungs, is to support life through the intake of oxygen and the delivery of oxygen and then the offload of CO2. CO2 being completely necessary for breathing since it is what triggers the breathing reflex, but in high quantities may not be so beneficial, although by exposing ourselves to higher quantities of it, we become stronger, both physically and mentally, since higher concentrations of CO2 will drive that deeper breathing reflex, sometimes going into air hunger. And the more we expose ourselves willingly to it, the more relaxed we will be when the true needs of more oxygen kicks in, when the true needs of offloading extra CO2 kicks in. For instance, after you finish walking or running up the stairs, or after you've surfaced from being tumbled around by a wave, or after you've finished a sprint, whether it is swimming, biking, or running a sprint. After you've finished doing a series of lifting, high intensity training, etc. Just a little forward. I'd like for everyone to now see me through your lower peripheral vision, and I'm going to display diaphragmatic breathing, which is the first exercise that we are doing today. So you guys are going to basically copy what I'm doing, placing your dominant hand on your lower belly. There you go. And we're applying pressure downwards with that hand as we inhale with very much an exaggerated or very intentional, if you will, pattern, and protruding that belly, pushing that belly out or up as the hand presses down a little bit. So that'll be your inhale, and then you hold for 2 to 3 seconds at top, and then press out and down on your belly. Then exhale with an S vocal sound, S mouth exhale, just the exhale. Let's repeat that over for a few cycles. A nice, very intentional effort on inhaling. A 3-second pause at top, pressing, still pressing, and then an exhale that lasts probably 3, 4, 5 times longer than your inhale. What we're doing now is diaphragmatic breathing to its finest. And what it does to your nervous system is downregulation. It basically relaxes your muscles, slows down the heart rate, and it improves circulation, blood flow all throughout the body. As you engage the diaphragm muscle, which is the one that serves as a pump or piston, it's located underneath your lungs, and it pushes the lungs upwards as we are exhaling, and it pulls the lungs downwards as we are inhaling. That'll be the bottom third of your lungs. Pushes it up at exhale, pulls it down at inhale. And as it does that, the diaphragm, make a little more space for you, of course. As the diaphragm does its work of pulling and pushing, it also sends a signal to the brain thanks to the vagus nerve, cranial nerve number 10, which again connects the diaphragm with the brain. And also other organs have that connection, but since it is the matter or the topic now, the diaphragm, that's the way it tells the brain to slow down everything, to downregulate, again achieving muscle relaxation, bradycardia, technical word for lowering your heart rate, and better blood flow. This is what you are achieving. On top of that, there is a couple more benefits. This will be your better oxygen usage. So since the bottom of the lungs have the most content of alveoli or air sacs with capillaries that are responsible to bring in, to diffuse or uptake the oxygen and deliver it, then there's more oxygen usage. Again, since you have more concentration of alveoli on that bottom third of your lungs, which you may have seen the depiction, of course, of the lungs shown wider at the bottom. So by engaging in this type of breathing, you are expanding, you are making the best use out of that bottom third. You're really using all of that space, stretching your lungs downwards, which benefits the tissues to be more flexible, and thus bringing more oxygen into the system. And so this will increase, enhance bodily functions, physiological functions. Mainly though, the down regulation aspect of things. So you can use this type of breathing before a presentation, before an exam or a quiz, before having a conversation that's technical or uncomfortable, or if you just simply need to open brackets throughout the day just to set a little relaxing moment, resetting moment. Good job, everybody. This is the first of 3 stages in which we are working today to warm up and reconnect with the musculature. And I'll explain from the bottom up in the right order, or as it should be, all those muscles and their importance. We're going to do this for 30 more seconds. There we go. Then before we keep going, we are going to perform 1 breath hold all together, everybody at the same time, followed after this exercise, and then 1 breath hold towards the end of the session. And breath holding, just so I share this with you, this practice will be an indicator for both your physical and your mental capacities to cope with, number 1, sitting comfortably and still with your own, and number 2, with discomfort, because at some point breath holding will start being uncomfortable. It first starts as a very pleasant practice, since your own biology helps you when you're holding your breath willingly by still carving in that parasympathetic response, that rest, digest, and recover response, lowering of the heart rate, better blood flow, more muscle relaxation. When you hold your breath willingly, this is willingly, voluntarily, not being tumbled by a wave, for an instance. And then this will just help you to enhance or maximize that short reset throughout the day if you need it. Now, if you keep holding your breath for longer than that first phase, you will enter the realm of discomfort, inevitably, because the high CO2 levels will produce so. And that mindset changes there after you cross that line, and it is more of a resilience practice or training your physiology to be able to cope with discomfort and not be so reactive to it, but instead of adapted to it, okay? Which will strengthen psyche and physiology. So this breath hold, guys, is going to be performed with everyone at an announced time. At the same time, all at unison, taking a deep breath in, so inhaling as much air as possible, right? And holding it for as long as possible. Now, you have to let me know when you're breathing again, when you have to exhale to break your breath hold by raising your hand. And in that exact time, I'll tell you your time. Okay, so you take a mental note of that time, and then we just keep it there and try to remember it later for that second breath hold. And we'll compare the 2 breath hold times. Again, breath holding is a practice that will tell you where are you at a physiological and psychological point in your capacities. And don't worry if your first breath hold comes out to be something that you're not impressed with, because the second one will always be better. And simply, we all have different capacities and different skills, and some of us may have to work more on one or the other, physical or mental. So I'm going to start the countdown at 10, okay? When I get to 1, everybody takes that last breath in, deep breath in, and I will suggest that just for this specific practice, you could use the mouth for that last inhale, since the mouth offers a wider airway and more suctioning or traction power. I'm gonna start a countdown, guys. Everybody clear on the protocol? Yes? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep inhale. And off we go. Chronometer running. And we are at 30 seconds now. Very good, guys. We are getting close to 1 minute. We are 10 seconds away. Very nice, everybody, for that very first breath hold. And this is 1 minute sharp, sir. Very nice. That's 103, 104. Good job, guys. Keep that number in your mental notes. That's 115, man. 116 over there. 117, 118. We are getting close to 130. 5 seconds away. We just hit the 130. This is 131, 133, 135. Very nice. And 140. Very nice. For a very first breath hold today with not much warming up. Most of you have done amazing. 150. Almost 2 minutes. This is good long capacities. We still have 1 or 2 people, I believe, or at least 1 person still holding. Yeah, we just got past the 2 minutes. We are 2:07, 2:08. Very nice. In and out strong on those breaths, just to offload extra CO2 accumulated, especially those who started breathing recently. Breathe in and out strong through the mouth to move, to ventilate a lot of air and to purge or offload extra CO2 that was built up in your bloodstream, so we can proceed with what's next without extra CO2. Good job. By 2:40, I assume everybody's breathing, so hopefully there's no one else holding, just so I don't ruin your amazing, that's it. Okay, great. Good job, guys. So you all took mental notes of your time, right? I was announcing everyone's. Okay, great. Yeah, 1 minute is a good baseline in my opinion. And then everything above 1 minute is a plus and a plus and a plus, And we can all get those times higher, which will tell us again where we're at, 1 minute is a good baseline, guys. I've had people here that have lasted 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then on the second one, they doubled it or even tripled it after they become more connected, with all of the physiology that the breathing and the respiration pertains to, and psychologically as well. And it's amazing how much more comfortable you can be under those uncomfortable circumstances. Okay, guys, so I will kindly ask you to sit legs crossed if possible. We got the bolsters where you can sit on. If there's any discomfort with sitting in such way, you can always remain laying. But the next exercise is going to be us moving up on the breathing musculature chain. We had just engaged the diaphragm, and as I was explaining, it is your main or most important breathing muscle, since it connects to the brain via the vagus nerve, and it triggers the downregulation or activation of the parasympathetic, aka rest, digest, and recover mode of your autonomic nervous system, right? On top of that, it is the widest area of the lungs, is that bottom that you are expanding downwards more thanks to that diaphragm. So you are really bringing in expansion more air, more oxygen in. More muscle control, so more control over your physiology, which is great. And I have to say that the diaphragm helps in both the inhalation and the exhalation. So it is an inspiratory and an expiratory muscle at the same time, but it is aided or helped by the obliques and the abdominal areas on the exhalation. So by doing these types of exercises, you're also working the muscles in that area. Again, on the exhalation, as you push the air out, your obliques and your abs are some of those muscles for, say, expiratory muscles. This is the correct, the medical or physiological term is expiratory muscles. We're moving up, okay? I want you to picture the lungs as a 360-degree, let's say, object that it must be pushed and pulled in all directions, in those 360 degrees. And for that, since again the lungs are not muscles, they rely on the musculature around them to be able to get the air in and out. You must engage all the musculature. It turns out, guys, that 80% of the populations, studies show, are engaging constantly on upper musculature, which is called accessory muscle, which is, sadly, it is what we should use if we need to go there because we need more air. But a lot of us are going there first, whereas it should be the opposite. It should be always, wow, I wonder what kind of bird that is. Can't really see it from here. Kind of looks like the tips of the wings of a vulture, but anyhow. There's all kinds of birds flying by, little hawks and parakeets and macaws, and maybe not so much at this time of the day because of the heat, but don't be surprised if you see some beautiful, bird flying by. Diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing should be the first, and then you build on top of that. Because that's how we were born, breathing as babies. We were, first of all, obligated nasal breathers because of our physiology and our musculature was not yet ready to use the mouth and trachea for breathing. So we were naturally born nasal breathers and naturally born diaphragmatic breathers, okay? Because it is what, our physiology was designed for, is to start at the bottom and then move up. And again, go to your intercostals, which is the muscles that we're training now and connecting with. And finally, if you were to need more air to come in, and that'll be at physical exertion, you will put on the accessory muscles. You will recruit the big boys of respiration or breathing, which are your pectoral minor, your trapezius muscle, back and front, and anterior, posterior, major, minor. However, neck muscles like the sternocleidomastoid and the scalene, all of those muscles which will help the tip or the top of the lungs to be pulled upwards more so that you can gather more air upwards. Same concept as the diaphragm, expanding the lungs downwards, but now on the top, shrugging your shoulders, tilting your head or doing a head extension, back. Okay, but this will be our last resource if we were at a, say, heart rate zone that's 3 or more, where the air hunger really increases, and then you start, you need to amplify those containers. You need to open more chambers. Does that make sense? And this is something that's not widely discussed, and it is pertaining to our physiology and its functioning, its proper functioning. So when we think of those and we start engaging into, consistent training, we start feeling the benefits, we go, wow, yeah, it is a thing. I can feel more relaxed, I can feel less air hunger, less air restriction in my chest, in my lungs and my ribs. So this is what we do this training for, okay? It's just to connect, soften, strengthen, release, become more aware, etc. Breathing, by the way, is autonomic by nature, right? It just happens without us having to think about it. It is one of the many autonomic functions of the body, but the beauty of it is that you can also bring it to the conscious level and hack it, tweak it, work with it, fix it, you know, and then let it sit on that autonomic side for a while, and then bring it back to the conscious, whether it's every morning or twice a week, or however, you know, your time and your will may be able to, you know, work with your breath. But then you just let it sit, and then over and over you keep on stimulating that, you know, natural breathing patterns, and all of a sudden you probably feel like, wow, I feel like I'm more connected now. I'm breathing, you know, more through my nostrils now, and more with my belly now, and my ribs instead of my chest. I feel more relaxed. Okay, so let's move up again to the intercostals, and let me explain briefly the intercostals. What intercostal means is in between the ribs. I think it's derived from Latin. Costal, maybe costilla in Spanish is ribs. So inter, in between, costal, you know, ribs. So these are the muscles in between your 12 ribs, which will be one layer for expiratory. So this will squeeze your thoracic cage in so that the air comes out, right, on the exhale. And you have an inspiratory layer as well. Two layers, inspiratory and expiratory. The inspiratory, along with the diaphragm, will help for the air to come in. So this is your lateral breathing muscles, because the lungs are expanding also sideways and back as well, okay? But mostly you will feel it sideways. We just trained the diaphragm and connected with it through our pressing hand, right? As you guys were laying. We could also add, if we had weighted exercise discs on top of our bellies, or a heavy book. It'll just be hard to have a bunch of heavy books laying here, or a bunch of exercise discs, but you get the idea. What we're doing is applying weight on our musculature and engaging that musculature. It's the same concept for anything that has a concentric and movements, you know, that you expand bend and expand, and oh my God, I love the words, but concentric and eccentric, you know, yeah. So extending and compressing, mechanics, right? But in this case, since we don't have joints, what we have to do is apply weight, apply pressure, and it'll be the same concept for strengthening, you know, muscles, tendons, and ligaments. It is a weight under tension, right? Or tension under weight, that'll be it. To do it, but doing pressure or applying pressure. In the case of the intercostals, to strengthen those, especially the inspiratory ones, we are helping each other. So we're forming couples, and from behind we are approaching with our hands, our pressing hands onto our buddies, siblings, partners, ribs, okay? And so it'll look like something like this. Let's pretend that these hands are coming from behind through somebody that's helping me, and I'm only focusing on taking a deep breath in, most likely from the mouth, because it offers, again, more suctioning, more traction. Sort of like O-shaped mouth pattern. So you restrict the airflow, and you have to get those muscles to really work. As that restriction of the airflow really, again, you know, makes us work for bringing the air in. And now we're trying to keep the lower belly inactive, so neutral, and also we're trying to keep those shoulders from shrugging up. So mechanically speaking, we're forcing the air to go to that area, okay? It'll look like this if I had hands coming from behind. And I want you to look at my hands, how they will expand, and you know, they'll come in a little too. Check this out, guys. You can make that exhale a little faster than the previous exercise, so the sensation and the noticing will be a little more less subtle. These hands could be actually a little further back, like more on the sides. Okay, so they should be pressing firmly onto those ribs. So let's form those teams, and for you guys pressing, for you guys helping with the pressing hands, you'll probably feel, surprised on how much the muscles and the bones will engage and expand and move. So yeah, don't be shy. Let's just help each other. We're training the musculature of the, and if we need one, if there's one pairless person, I'll work with you guys. Sitting is better. Find a position, yeah, find a way, whether you have open legs or crossed legs, or even kneeling behind your person, however you feel like you, yeah. Yeah, find a position in which you feel comfortable and you can apply even and you know, strong pressure. There you go. It could be halfway, like dropping one knee like him. It could be fully, there you go. Yeah, get into it. Let's do a handful, because as you're pressing firmly, guys, you will notice that your deltoids and, you know, some of your arms muscles are going to get a workout. If she needs someone to work with, I can work with her. You just let me know, okay? This again is muscle training for your respiratory, for your breathing muscles. Or if you prefer to work with me and you let the ladies work together, however, yeah, okay. I'll sit in front of you and see how much you can press my ribs. Guys, don't be gentle. Press those ribs firmly. And for you breathing, you must be very, very...
Tell me where to put my hand.
Yes, right there. Exactly. Press firmly inwards, guys. Okay. No worries. Okay. Okay.
How's that, right there?
Yes, sir. Emphasize that inhale and keep that air in you for 3 seconds after inhale. 2 more breaths so we don't strain our musculature. Thank you, sir. We can switch. And then switch, guys. There you go.
So,
yeah, we're keeping the shoulders down. So we're trying to have this not happen to us. And exactly, immediately the air will come to the center. There you go.
all mouth?
Yeah, all mouth. Okay, hold for 3 seconds and bring your shoulders down and press out onto my hands. There you go. Exactly, good. You can also, okay, good job. More control right there. A couple more breaths. Guys, you most likely are also feeling the lats engaging, right? The lats, latissimus dorsi engaging. One more breath. Good job. You got strong musculature. Yeah, thank you. And strong pressing hands too. Awesome, guys. So we're literally turning ourselves into a corset of sorts, you know, like yeah. And that's it. As long as you guys were able to feel some engagement on those muscles and that expansion, remember to keep your shoulders down and be very emphatic on that inhale as those hands are pressing firmly. One more breath, should be okay, because we're engaging into also the musculature of the arms, and good. Okay, guys, if you, yeah, that's isometric hold, exactly. That's like an isometric hold, which, by the way, I heard recently a strength and conditioning coach saying, like, nothing is isometric. You know, even if you from the outside see it not moving, there's lots of things, you know, firing in there, and there's even like little, sometimes even trembling muscles, and anyhow, but yeah, it's isometric pressing, right? So good job, guys. You know, if you want to get this to the next level, you wrap yourself around with an exercise band or a belt, or, you know, thick or wide belt, and tighten it, and then do your breathe ups. There's actually a tool called the breathing belt, which is a it's like almost a weightlifting belt that you place around your ribs, and you tighten it, and then you go by levels, and then you know, breathe against it. So that'll be, you know, the way you strengthen those muscles. All in order for you to have your breathing musculature strong, for you to perform breathing, which is the most vital but more underrated act for survival that we possess, that we have. Let's philosophize for a couple of minutes. If we were to boil it down to the most vital thing that we need, if we were stripped off of everything, you know, even clothes, like food, everything, what will be the first thing that we need to start all over again? is the air, right? Like without breathing, man, we're done. So as long as you're breathing, you can start thinking, you can start moving, you can start negotiating, you can start, getting, like just moving through life, right? Then just tell me, what do you think is, the most time somebody like average can live without breathing for? We just kind of experience it, right? Like at some point we feel like, oh, if I keep holding my breath, I'm probably gonna pass out. We're talking about like high-level world-ranked athletes on the specific art of breath holding, yeah, free divers, yeah. But you train to get like that for years, doing yogic breathing, doing all kinds of like exercises like the ones we're doing, by the way, brought by you from the freediving world. Like some of my background is from freediving, and so, but it affects positively all aspects of life. So, but I would say generally speaking, average, I'd say even 3 minutes. Like try to hold your breath for 3 minutes. Try to get there. Force yourself. Sometimes the level of stress that you will put yourself through if you're not yet ready for a breath hold that long will cause you to pass out, right? To like black out. You train your physiology to get to certain levels, and then just like in a matter of an hour or so, you're getting your breath holds probably from a minute to a minute 30, you never know, or from 1:30 to 3 minutes, you never know. You get yourself in a matter of years from 1 or 2 minutes to maybe 15 minutes, right? And we're not talking about those. We're not talking about those breathing oxygen first methods, because that's another level. Recently, a guy from, I think, Croatia or something beat the world record. It's like something stupid, something like plus 20 minutes plus or something. But he was breathing pure oxygen for an hour. Plus, he was already, it's like Lance Armstrong, right? The guy was already great. He was like the GOAT, but on top of that, he got the doping thing going on, so it made it even better. So something like that. It's not like any regular human can get to that level that easy. You first have to be great, and then you top it off. But legally speaking and physiologically, speaking, like the right way, just pure training and diet and mindset, you can get to those maybe, yeah. But 3 minutes average. Now we think of water. Maybe we can live without water for 3 days. We think of food. Maybe we can live without food for 3 weeks. I like to use the number 3 because it's like, you just fix that and you go, wow, yeah, if you boil it down to what do we need to survive? Is food, water, and air, right? And of course, sunlight. Well, maybe we can live without sunlight for 6 months as some countries in Europe. Maybe 6 years without people, but it'll probably, put a toll in your emotional. But air is the last resource, is the first resource. It is also the first thing we do when we are born. We're still philosophizing. So this class is about physiology, psychology, but also philosophy a little bit. First thing we do when we check in is a nice inhale. Last thing we do when we check out is an exhale. So the first and the last. It's like the alpha and the omega. The beginning and the end, it's breath. How many times per day? Anywhere from 20 to 23,000 times per day we do cycles of breathing, depending on your respiratory rate, which, a good respiratory rate for a healthy person, you should always aim at anywhere from, I guess 10 to 12 to 14, but if you get closer to 20 breaths per minute, you'll be overbreathing. Like even 16 and above, I think, is already overbreathing. You're supposed to slow down the breath just so you can make the amount of breaths that you were assigned for your life last longer, so you have a longer life. That's also a little philosophy. And lastly, I think, breathing is the most underrated, because it's not so sexy as going into a gym and lifting weights and what people is used to seeing. It's like more subtle, it's just like what you guys are doing, but it is so powerful. It is so powerful. So Let's keep working our musculature. And again, I want you to remind the concept of the lungs being organs, not muscles. If it wasn't because of those muscles that we are training right now, that we're warming up and activating, we wouldn't be able to exist, because we wouldn't be able to bring in the air in and out, right? Alex, ¿te puedes poner un mensajito? Excuse me, guys, ¿te puedes poner un mensajito a la gerencia de que por favor dejen de estamos en pleno breathwork, weón, y se ponen a hacer esos trabajos hoy de cortar yo no sé qué con un metal, y aquí está llegando todo el sonido. Friends, the last of 3 stages is your accessory muscles, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to engage them, but now with awareness, consciousness, not in the way that a lot of us, including myself, do during the day, which is without thinking about it. So, shallow, short breaths. No, we're expanding this area here, okay? Literally, the last 2 ribs are pulling the top of the lungs up in order for the air to be able to, go higher. So you're stretching the tissues of your lungs, which is great. Before I forget, I want to just point out the fact that nowadays is very common to hear about biomarkers and indicators for longevity and good health. And there's a few, right? We may have heard of, the ones HRV, heart rate variability, and VO2 max. VO2 max is one of the key indicators. And then you have, leg strength, since the legs are like what, brings the blood back up, right? It returns, the venous return, especially calves, which may resemble like a heart when you time them. It's like your lower body's heart that pumps the air, the blood back up. But a big one, guys, a big one is your lung capacity. And this is what we're working on today. You have grip strength, you have many, that when you have them all in a good, check box, you go, okay, I got some good, life ahead of me, a good, healthy life ahead of me. Lung capacity is one of them, and we're working on it as we speak. So let's do the accessory muscle breathing. This will be again through the mouth, and it'll look and sound like this, guys. Do you notice I started kind of like up here, and I kept, feeling, shrugging, tilting my head until I couldn't get any more. I squeeze every bit of air in, and then before exhaling, I drop my shoulders, I puff up my chest, I wait a couple of seconds, and then I start my S sound exhale, okay? So it's all up here. It's all up here, and you're trying to bring your subclavial, your, collarbone and shoulder area higher as the air comes in. So you're pulling the top of the lungs upwards more, okay? Let's do it at your own pace at the count of 1, 2, start empty lungs, 3. Drop shoulders, puff up your chest, and exhale. Emphasize that suctioning power through mouth and trachea. Puff up your chest and bring your shoulders down at the end of your inhale. Hold for a couple of seconds and then S sound exhale. Posture is important. Try to keep your back straight as much as possible. You may get lightheaded a little bit, that's normal. Let's do one more breath. Good job, everybody. Let's just, sway and just roll your shoulders back and forth, sway. Maybe you like to stretch your legs a little bit, your hamstrings, a little forward fold, why not? Great. So what we just did, guys, we just went through all of the musculature of the breathing mechanics, and we stimulated all those muscles. We basically gave them a little workout, okay? We may not be sore after this, because it will take a lot for us to be sore of those muscles, but we certainly gave them a nice activation and a warm-up. And so again, it all comes down to like every breath you take, you do it with connection, with strength, with relaxation, and not with restraint and restriction, and upside down patterns, again starting with the chest instead of the belly, or feeling like, oh, I have like air restriction. A lot of people reports in the modern world having that sensation of obstruction or restriction. So this will just like soften and strengthen everything throughout the respiratory or breathing system. Okay, what we're doing now is displaying muscle control with our 3-part breath, as we just isolated and worked individually in each of the 3 stages. We will colloquially call them belly, ribs, and chest, but technically call them diaphragmatic, intercostal, and pectoral or thoracic. We're gonna put them all together into one wave or one deep breath, okay? And this will be, oops, sorry for the noise. This will be laying, not yet, just check me out really quick, and then you guys lay and do it a number of times. I'll point out the number of times, but I want you to notice how I go through stages in a flow way, in a flow fashion. Can you all see the belly, the ribs, and the chest? Okay, I'm gonna go for it. There's even 3 slightly different sounds for each area when I tap. And if you ask me in which order you should exhale, leave the belly for last. Okay? One more. Three stages, pretty much my full lung capacity, and then leave the belly for last. So you're exhaling in the opposite order. You don't want to think of starting to exhale through the chest because it's kind of hard. You just think of leaving the belly for last, okay? And automatically you'll exhale in that right order. So this is training our neuromuscular patterns to always, for the brain to tell the body, hey, start with the belly, always. Start with the belly. Belly first. It's the foundation. It's like sleep. You build your health over the sleep patterns, right? If you don't have good sleep, everything else goes wonky. So again, if you don't start from your belly, your diaphragm, then your breathing is not going to be the same. It's physiologically speaking coherent to start at the bottom and then build up. And again, the 3rd stage, we just trained it, right? Just so we get connected to it. But again, we want to use it if we need it. Not when we're just like walking around doing stuff. It's when we're exerting. We're like, oh, we need more air. Okay, let's recruit the big boys of respiration. Let's bring in the pectoral, the shoulders, neck. Guys, you're gonna do this a handful of times through the mouth and a handful of times through nostrils and nasal passages, okay? And as we are doing this, we're also preparing for the 2nd and last breath hold, which will serve again as a comparison. Notice that you've already activated all this musculature and neuromuscular pathways, and this last breath hold should be longer, should be stronger. Also, I will give you 3 tools for you to work on while you're holding your breath. Number 1, it is brought from a type of yoga called Yoga Nidra, where you're supposed to run a body scanner, like literally become very aware of every inch of musculature in your body and just disconnect it, let go. Be very aware, very conscious of your body. And if, say, your hands are here, no, you just drop them and put them next to you. If your shoulders may be a little bit short, no, just relax. And as the scanner goes by, you really look into those areas and go, oh yeah, I just noticed that I was holding my left foot inwards. And when the scanner went through, I softened it and it kind of went sideways. Little things that we're not aware of. And I see it all the time, especially tomorrow and on Thursday, I believe, on the pool training. We're gonna do just like floating, holding our breath. And a lot of times I see stuff like arms being spread out like this, and then I tell the person, hey, relax your deltoids. And you can see that the arms sink. And the person wasn't even aware that, the person thought it was totally relaxed until somebody points it out. Oh, yeah, okay. So that body awareness is very important. And we're gonna do that as a first tool as we're holding our breath. Number 2 is visualization. You could visualize yourself being the best version of yourself, doing what you love to do. Whatever it is, guys. Even if, I mean, it's work related, whatever, sports, arts, your hobby, something that you've been working to get better at, you just visualize yourself being the better version of yourself. You can go very sharp, vividly, you know, just imagining yourself doing that. Whether it's a surfing maneuver or, you know, again, like maybe a dish if you're a chef, presenting it to like beloved, you know, members of the family, getting a standing ovation for it, something that motivates and moves you, okay? You spend your time breath holding, visualizing, and it works both ways. It distracts you from the discomfort so you can last longer, and it also reprograms you in a way. Number 3, lastly, you can count slowly in your head to let time go by. 1 Costa Rica, 2 Costa Rica, 3 Costa Rica. Okay, and you can come up with, after that, with any plus, any strategy you like. You can listen to the music, you can just feel the breeze. Something that your mind goes to that's pleasant. It's not the, you know, the wondering like what the, you know, the stopwatch is saying, you know, or if anybody is already breathing or not. All of that, remove it and just focus on your own breath hold and enjoy it, because you are working to enhance your physiology as you're holding your breath. So let's just get going with the 3-part or 3-stage breath. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the peppermint oil, but this time with lavender, okay? I'm gonna put a drop of lavender actually in your index finger. So you just put your index finger up, and what you do with this is rub the back of your ears, both ears. Rub the back of your ears with the lavender oil, massage the back of both ears, and start your 3-part breath after you've already got your lavender ears. And lavender, I never heard of anyone being allergic to it, neither peppermint. And lavender is actually soothing of the nervous system. It's very relaxing. It's a very relaxing scent when those particles enters your brain. Yeah, and your there you go. And your olfactory nerve. It'll trigger relaxation. So rub the back of your ears. Is that enough? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Back of your ears, both ears, sorry. Both ears. And this is just to enhance relaxation, guys, okay? We all got it. Okay, everyone's got the ears rubbed with lavender. Let's breathe in at the count of 3, belly, ribs, and chest. 1, 2, 3. Good, hold it for a couple of seconds and then start exhaling. Leave the belly for last. At your own pace, keep going. Target those 3 areas in the right order. Belly, ribs, and chest. Good job. Belly, ribs, and chest. Leave the belly for last and squeeze it in at the end. Excellent, guys. Let's keep working on that. Think of a stadium wave. Think of a stadium wave, and as the crowd stands up, I was in the way. As the crowd stands up, it kind of stays up, right? The crowd starts standing up, belly, ribs, and chest. Notice how there's like a wave pattern, okay? In that breath. Good. Feel each area expanding. If you feel like you're putting too much power on that first stage and you're running out of juice, quote unquote, to keep going up, then limit your belly activation or your diaphragm, and just a little bit of it will be enough, and then just keep going up, okay? It happens sometimes. For this last breath hold, we're using those techniques, okay? We're doing the breath hold journey technique. And for that last breath, we are certainly inhaling through the mouth and using all of what we've been training for to give the best inhale, the best breath in ever. Now guys, let's switch to nasal breathing. Switch to the nostrils. I hope your nostrils are active, both of them. If there is anything with deviated septums or a clogged nostril, it is common. So try to, as long as you have a little bit of an opening, just try to move air through your nostrils. You can always block one nostril if you like. You can always try to press the bottom of your nose with the thumb upwards if there is any obstruction. If there's any obstruction, and you may notice a little more flow, an opening. Nasal breathing, 3-stage in the right order: belly, ribs, and chest. And so we keep on reiterating the right order, physiologically speaking, of your breathing as we downregulate some more, getting ready for our second and last breath hold, for which again, when we're ready for it, we are inhaling as strong and powerfully as possible to get those lungs fully in with air. 3 stages: belly, ribs, and chest. Keep working on it. And guys, imagine yourself just breathing normally during the day like this. Start lowering the emphasis or intensity on the 3rd stage and focus 70 or 80% of those efforts on your belly and your ribs now. And just imagine yourself breathing like that throughout the day with less intensity, less effort, yet more connection. Belly and ribs. Maybe a little chest, sometimes is inevitable, but belly and ribs. Say 80% of the effort, belly and ribs. And just stay there for a little while breathing, and imagine that you are doing normal, daily task, not necessarily thinking of breathing, but yet you're breathing that way. So you're crossing to the daily life scenarios, extrapolating or crossing over to life and the way we most likely should be breathing daily. Belly, ribs, nasal, and slow. Anywhere from 4 to 6 seconds in, 4 to 6 seconds out. As we get ready for the second and last breath hold, guys. We're going to spend 1 more minute doing this, and then we're going to sigh. I'll point out when it's about time to, and then we'll start a countdown. Remember, what you are doing is a training or visualizing how most likely you should be breathing during the day. Belly first, then ribs. Slowing down the pattern. Okay, we're going to do the second and last breath hold. Remember for a second, your first time, and you should still, you should feel like really easy now, still your thoughts, no unnecessary moves, so you don't spend extra oxygen and muscle engagement. You just use all of your oxygen to sustain yourself throughout the breath hold. Remember the 3 or 4 tactics or strategies to make it more pleasant. I'm going to start a countdown, and I want you all to sigh. I want you all to sigh, and with every sigh, there's more relaxation kicking in. Sigh with sound if you prefer. There you go, sigh with sound. It'll always trigger more relaxation as you sigh. It offloads a little bit of extra CO2. It really relaxes completely and fully. And keep sighing, guys. We're gonna count down, and remember, at 1, everybody takes the deepest breath. So as I'm getting close to number 1, start emptying your lungs. So when that last breath comes in, you start with empty lungs. So it's just fresh oxygenated air what's coming in to fill the lungs, okay? We're gonna start, so keep sighing. 10, few more sighs. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ready? 1. Off we go. Keep the air inside. Relax face, neck, shoulders, arms. Relax hips. Relax legs, thighs, hamstrings, calves, ankles. 30 seconds in, good job. Time is flying. Good job, everybody. Feeling very relaxed. Body scanner. Visualization. You are strong. One minute in, everybody is doing great. You can always go further than you think. You're capable of going further than you would even think. And we're safe, and we're enjoying this. Keep working on your mental relaxation. And discomfort is your friend, remember, bear with it for a little longer. That's 128. 128. Discomfort is your friend, remember. 134. 135 actually, good job. 138, boys. 139, good job. 142, good job. Remember those times, huh? 142, the last one. 148, the boys here. This is 150, ma'am. Actually, 151. Good job. And let's breathe in strong. Those who are breathing now, breathing strong through the mouth, in and out, just to offload extra CO2. We just got to the to the 2-minute mark, and that was 2:05. Breathe in and out strong. Breathe in and out strong. Those who are breathing by now, we are at 2:15 as we speak, and everybody has already broke through the first time. That was great. We're getting close to 2:30. And this is 2:27. Breathe in and out strong. And this is 2:33, my friend, over there in the corner. Good job. That was remarkable. And we still have, this is 2:40, the two of you together, 2:40. Good job, guys. Almost 3 minutes. That was amazing. And I believe 2:48, my friend. Good job. Amazing. Breathing in and out. We almost hit the 3-minute mark. I'm sure everybody's breathing by now because 3 is a big milestone. And give yourself a little applause because that was hard work. That was hard work, guys. I know what it is. You know, with all of what we're talking and doing today, and there's also that internal competitive side of things, that whether it's competition within our own or with others, but is inevitably, kicking in. And it is hard work. Towards the end, it is. So good job, guys. Take those best personals if there's a chance you never held your breath for that long, and just keep it with you and be proud of it. Because that's, just to show yourself that you have what it takes to go further, to go stronger, and to go longer, okay? With the right training and mindset. Lastly, we will wrap it all up with a 5 to 7 minute exercise that you can do at home. We will reiterate the importance of breath work, and there's so many modalities, right? I mean, there's a vast universe of or options on breath work or breath training or breathing awareness practices. This is just a little piece of it, okay? But it's very important because it is a foundation. 80% of people, it's being said in books and people who study breath and human behavior, that 80% of people in world developed countries have the pattern of breathing more with the chest instead of the belly. And what that is causing is an arousal of the sympathetic, aka fight or flight branch of the autonomic nervous system. And sometimes we don't need it. It is necessary for survival, right? The fear response. But when we don't need it because we're actually, I don't know, discussing a topic with our spouse or on the laptop doing some work, or maybe, I don't know, doing the dishes or whatever, doing, doing the garden, but we're thinking of like the amount of things that we have pending and with bills and with this and with that and with that issue I had with, my coworker, whatever it is. Inevitably, we're, triggering that over and over until people go, hey, I had a panic attack. And I don't know where it come from. It was weird. It just happened to me, It wasn't triggered by anything special. I was just feeling anxious for a while. Or just, the baseline anxiety issues that people have. A lot of that could be accredited to a mismatch of the breathing pattern, or, when breathing pattern goes south. And let me tell you, this is the first thing that starts going south when we become of awareness, as we, in our infancy, right around like 5 or 7 or 8 years old, when we start becoming more aware of the complexity of the reality in which we live, whether it's because of the bully kid at school that wanted to bully us, or parents arguing hard in front of us, or the news that we inevitably were able to watch in the TV, like about war or this or that, you name it, starts shifting our breathing pattern into the survival mode. And that'll be your short accessory muscles, so upper, respiratory muscles, and shallow, so short, shallow, and mouth pattern, which again, it just feeds that loop of sympathetic activation, the fight or flight. When we are aware of it, that's the first thing, is to identify the enemy, right? And then we have the tools, and then we just have to gather the will power and just engage into daily practice, even if it's for 5 to 7 minutes. Let's wrap it up. 1 minute time by your clock on your own, pressing as we started on your belly. Again, mouth breathing just for the training purpose of it. It comes in handy because it has more suctioning power, so we can exaggerate or accentuate the technique more. That's it, 1 minute of this. I'm just kind of walking you through what a 5 to 7 minute protocol for your own, morning routine, if you do have one, or just daily routine at some point, will look like. Right, squeezing that belly all the way in that exhale. Bringing it up as much as you can. You can always place a heavy book on top instead to replace that hand. Exercise disc, something that's heavy. Okay, that's it. 1 minute, and this is the minimum, right? You can do 2 minutes or 3 minutes of each stage, but just to sum it all up into a short exercise that will provide benefits, 1 minute of intercostal on your own. So remember, as I was standing up explaining, I placed my own hands in my ribs and I pressed into them. That's it. You can palpate, you can feel your own ribs expanding as you just bring in the air forcefully. The exaggeration or accentuation of the technical gesture of inhaling and exhaling is debated. Sometimes opposed by some facilitators, saying that, you know, it should be something more natural and relaxed. But the point is, in my opinion, that we should exaggerate at first to then fall into this baseline, you know. But for some people, there is a need for pushing a little harder in order to create those connections again. That's why I emphasize on exaggerating at first, and then you just bring it down, and you go into a more, you know, leveled intensity, if you will, okay? Again, you know, the intercostals, 1-2 minutes of that, and then finally the accessory muscles. You can place one hand on your chest if you like, and another one in the belly. The one in the belly just to make sure that the belly doesn't activate anymore in this case, and the one in the chest to palpate or feel how the chest is moving up and out and protruding, and, you know, shoulders are also shrugging a little bit. And after you've gone through the 3 stages, you do your whole wave of a breath, your deep breath, right? Starting at the belly, and you can still keep those hands, one in the chest and one in the belly. Now, to tell if your belly is really raising, and keep going up to the ribs and the chest. That'll be another minute if you like, or 2 minutes. This will add to 4 minutes total. Then you can just drop your hands close to you, next to you, like on a Shavasana yoga pose, and just prepare for another 30 seconds to a minute, breathing, you know, gently, baseline, belly and ribs, and prepare for a breath hold. And then do another breath hold, whether it is 1 minute or less or a little more, and that's it. After you perform your breath hold, you can breathe in and out for a few cycles strong, using what aviators in Second World War invented. It's called the hook breath, to deal with the changes of atmospheric pressure and, you know, blackouts and whatnot. Hook breath is just basically a nice pull of air through the mouth, a quick hold, dropping the shoulders, pressing out on the lungs, and then a P sound, gentle exhale. That's it. Many times that. After you finish your breath hold, you're good. If you were to place 2 people, another person, the same exact physiological traits and everything, like a copy of you next to you, and one copy is paying attention to breathing and breath work, and the other one is not, you bet the one that's paying attention to this will perform better at everything. Social relations, work, sports, very important, okay? So guys, I hope this was of your enjoyment, and thank you, because I know there's a lot of information, and it's warm also, so you tend to get a little sluggish with the heat, and you kind of want to, like, you know, take a nap maybe, but your attention's still, you know, engaged. So for me, that was great that I saw everybody engaging. And if you like to, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you like to, because in the beginning I said we were going to discuss nasal versus mouth breathing, let's just finish with that, okay? And I'll definitely take that applause as the no me digas que eso está pasando otra vez. Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not getting sprinkled. Okay, great. Those nozzles are not pointing inwards, right? Okay, good. So, nasal breathing versus mouth breathing. Quick conversation before we part ways for today. Anybody can tell me about nasal breathing benefits intuitively or based on the information that you've already learned or researched? Filtering. That's the main feature, is the filtering. We have almost like an HVAC system throughout the whole, you know, airways of the nostrils and nasal passages. And that is thanks, first of all, to the nasal hair at the very entrance that will trap bigger airborne particles, bacteria, dust, etc., pathogens floating in the air, dust. Then, as you go deeper, by the way, that nasal hair is called the vibraceae. Vibraceae, that's the scientific name. And I guess because it vibrates, it kind of sounds like that when you inhale, exhale. Vibraceae. This will end up trapping again the bigger airborne particles and bacteria, dust, mites, whatnot, which results into snot or the buggers, right? you're supposed to blow those away, you know, cleans them. Anything that makes it through, smaller particles will get trapped or binded into the mucosa layer, which is humid and sticky. And that mucosa layer has its sidekick called the cilia, which is a hair-like structure, a carpet hair-like structure that sweeps or scrapes, brushes those particles along mucus to the end of the throat, to the back of the throat, where we finally swallow them, sometimes helped by this, you know, pushing of the mucus back. And as we swallow it, the stomach acids will finish the job, will neutralize those pathogens. That's the filtering right there. Thanks, that was the first great contribution, filtering, nasal breathing. Anything else that you can think of as nasal breathing benefits besides? Yes, in fact, it helps to keep it thermoregulates. So if it's too cold or if it's too hot, it'll level the field. Yeah, so thermoregulation, thank you. So the lungs are always receiving a stable temperature, you know, as much as our physiology can provide for temperature. So yeah, filtering, thermoregulation, what else? The oxygen intake actually and the diffusion improves because as it is humid air, I'm going to bring these phones and the sandals in a little further in because there's water. As the air gets humid, our alveoli are much happier to receive that oxygen because of the humid air. When it's dry air, it dries the mucous membranes and it's harder for our lungs to do the work. So yes, better oxygen absorption. There you go. So good contribution on the back. I guess the first row is a little shy because they have the t-shirt right in front of them. Just kidding. No, I mean, it's all good. Yeah, at some point I didn't know these things. You know, somebody just told them to me, then I researched them, and I'm a very curious person. So there you go. Nasal breathing, we can say, is king or queen, for that matter. It is probably the best. Yeah, I mean, it is the way. You know. Also, there's a thing with nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, NO is the acronym or whatnot. And nitric oxide is a vasodilator, so it helps our blood circulate, our circulatory system to be more relaxed. And nitric oxide is released into the bloodstream as we run the air through the nostrils and nasal passages. So it helps us to have better circulation. Nitric oxide was awarded Molecule of the Year in 1995 when it was discovered by a US physicist called Lou Gennaro, which actually the guy got a Nobel Prize because of the discovery of nitric oxide and its application to health and longevity. So it's a very interesting thing with nitric oxide, and ever since it's been widely discussed and used and applied in science, medicine, sports especially. Nitric oxide, you can generate more nitric oxide by nasal breathing or by eating foods that has nitrates, such as beets, for instance. There's other foods. Just look up foods with high concentration of nitrates, and those will be facilitators for more oxygen carrying capacities for your body, so better performance. Friends, thank you so much. I just wanted to top it off with that nasal versus mouth. Mouth, as you noticed, training as we were doing, because you have more power to bring in the air and out, so you can stimulate more, right? Those reflexes. And singing, public speech, swimming, of course, surfing, when you come out of a wave and you need to really purge extra CO2 and recover, most likely is the mouth, because it just is a wider, quicker, stronger airway, right? Other than that, recovering sometimes when you need to purge extra CO2 quick, that'll be it. But nasal breathing, 90% of the times, 95% of the times is what we should take away first, second, and third if you need it. Another takeaway, slowing down the breath, slowing it down so you give air more time to sit in the lungs. And last takeaway, nasal over mouth breathing. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for trusting us and for staying with us, and enjoy the